A beautiful young woman comes to Mumbai in search of stardom, and she finds it. She meets the man of her dreams, a much older, married, but separated director. She gives up her life of glamour and moves in with her lover. After 25 years of happiness, the man dies of natural causes. The once young but still beautiful woman begins to live in fear. She instinctively knows that her life is in danger. She reaches out to those she thinks can help, but all ignore her. She decides to leave the country so she can live in safety with loved ones nearby. However, before she can finalize her plans, she becomes a victim of homicide. Today, we're going to be talking about the murder of actress Priya Rajvansh. The hauntingly beautiful Priya Rajvansh was discovered in London, where she attended the Royal Academy of Dramatic Arts. A local photographer had taken some photos of Priya and, seeing how photogenic she was, suggested that she try her hand at acting. At the urging of a friend, Priya sent her photos to Raj Kapoor, Guru Dutt, and Chetan Anand. Only Chetan Anand contacted Priya Rajvansh, and that too was via telegram. He invited her to India for a screen test for his Under the Works musical love story, Hiranja. The director, known for his top-quality films like Neecha Nagar, winner of the Grand Prix Award at the Cannes Film Festival in 1946, Taxi Driver, and Fantouche, personally picked her up from the airport. Chetan Anand later told a friend, "One look at her, and I knew that I had found my heat." Unfortunately, the ambitious project took longer than expected to get off the ground, so Chetan Anand cast Priya Rajvansh as the female lead in Hakikat, another film that he was directing. Chetan Anand had been separated from his wife Uma for quite some time. By the time Hiranja wrapped filming, the director and Priya Rajvansh were romantically involved and began living together. Although Chetan Anand was 16 years older than Priya, age did not matter to either of them. Hiranja and Hakikat turned out to be massive hits, and Priya Rajvansh became a star. Chetan Anand, being possessive, would not let Priya work with any other director. Priya Rajvansh was offered roles by Raj Kapoor and Satyajit Ray, but she was forced to turn them down. During her entire acting career, Priya Rajvansh only appeared in 7 films, and the last time she was seen on the silver screen was in 1985. Priya and Chetan were together for over 25 years. Priya Rajvansh confided to friends that she wanted to marry Chetan. However, when she brought up the subject of marriage or Chetan divorcing his wife, Chetan would reply, "Let my boys grow up." He kept putting it off. Chetan also did not want any more children. Eventually, Priya accepted the situation because the two had become great friends. She also considered him her mentor. Chetan Anand purchased an apartment in the Mumbai suburb of Juhu for Priya Rajvansh. In addition, Chetan Anand created a will in which he split the ownership of his primary residence into 3 parts. He left 1/3 of the house to Priya and the remaining 2/3 to his sons, Ketan and Vivek. Upon learning the will's contents, Chetan Anand's sons created a ruckus, claiming that they and their mother were the rightful heirs of everything Chetan owned. Realizing their father would not budge from his stance, both sons pretended to accept their father's decision. The family dynamics were said to have become calm for a time. On February 6, 1997, Chetan Anand died and life changed drastically for Priya Rajvansh. In his will, Chetan left his sons in charge of paying Priya a monthly stipend from his assets for the rest of her life. The sons began to withhold the monthly check due to spite, which caused financial difficulties for Priya. Afraid that the brothers would find a way to steal her 1/3 ownership of Chetan's bungalow, Priya began to have lunch and dinner at Chetan's primary residence daily. Shortly after their father's death, Ketan and Vivek decided to have the value of their father's bungalow assessed. They were shocked to learn that the house was worth over 6 million rupees. Upon hearing the value of the property, the sons began to harass Priya. They wanted her to willingly sign over her portion of the bungalow to them. Priya refused. Priya wrote letters to Chetan's relatives, including Bollywood actor Dev Anand, Chetan's younger brother, and Priya's former co-star. Priya informed them of Vivek and Ketan's actions. Priya wrote that she was afraid of the two men and feared they would try to harm her. She requested their assistance. No one in Chaitananand's family responded to the letters or offered any type of help. These letters were later presented at trial. Priya, scared for her own safety, asked Ketan and Vivek to sell the bungalow so they could fairly split the proceeds and end all the animosity. At this point, Priya wanted to liquidate her assets and move to London, where her brother and his family resided. The brothers refused to sell the bungalow because they didn't want to give Priya a single penny from the selling of the home. Frustrated by Priya's refusal to simply sign over her 1/3 of the house, the brothers hatched a sinister plot to eliminate Priya Rajvansh. Ketan and Vivek had over the years befriended the maid Mala Chaudhary, who had worked at their father's bungalow for years. Also, since Ketan lived in the house, he was the maid's employer. In a statement later given to police, Mala Chaudhary said that Vivek and Ketan approached her with an offer of 6,000 rupees and a promise of an apartment if she helped them get rid of Priya. Mala immediately agreed to their offer. She then contacted her boyfriend, Ashok Chinnaswamy from Chennai, and had him travel to Mumbai. Once Ashok had arrived, Ketan passed him off as a newly hired servant, and Mala briefed Ashok on Priya's schedule. The Anand brothers began to plot ways to get rid of Priya and not get caught. The brothers were aware that their animosity towards Priya was public knowledge. They would be the prime suspects if Priya was found murdered. Thus, their goal was to make Priya's death look natural. At first, the brothers played around with the idea of poisoning Priya. They began to research poisons that could not be detected during an autopsy. However, they quickly learned that toxins of this variety were extremely rare and hard to procure. Their next objective was to find a way to make it appear that Priya had suffered a heart attack or had an accident. After much thought, they decided that strangulation would be the ideal way to commit the crime. The brothers reasoned that would be the easiest method of homicide to cover up. Ketan and Vivek then informed Mala and Ashok of what they had decided. Eerily, an evening before she died, Priya insisted that her friend Moin Beg visit her. When Priya's friend arrived, she showed him the location of her bank papers, her will, and the keys to a bank locker. Then she asked him to bring her a statue that was placed on a shelf. When he had done so, Priya asked him to lift the head of the figure. Inside the statue was valuable jewelry that Priya said she wanted to be given to her brother's children. On March 26, 2000, the maid Mala Chaudhary drugged Priya's tea. Priya always had tea at a particular time, and for years Mala Chaudhary made it for her. So on this day, Priya had no reason to be suspicious when the maid handed her the cup. Shortly after consuming the tea, Priya began to feel lightheaded and lethargic. Not understanding why she was feeling ill, Priya headed to the bathroom, most likely to take some aspirin and to splash cold water on her face in order to regain her composure. Priya had plans with friends that evening, and she didn't want to disappoint them by not showing up. Priya was known within her social circle as always being punctual and reliable. As Priya entered the washroom, Mala slowly crept up behind her and struck Priya on the head multiple times with a wooden washing paddle. As Priya collapsed to the ground from the brutal blows to her skull, Ashok Chinnaswamy, hiding in the bathroom and using a piece of rope, strangled Priya Rajvansh. In Mala's testimony, Priya's death was not quick and easy. Priya tried to struggle as she gasped for air. However, the 64-year-old drugged and beaten woman was no match for the much younger couple. The police arrived on the scene at 1 a.m. on March 27th, and they found Priya's body in the bedroom. The police had been notified by a doctor called by Ketan Anand, who claimed to have found an unresponsive Priya. The police took Mala Chaudhary and Ketan Anand into different rooms and began to question them separately. Unprompted, Ketan said that Priya's health had been deteriorating for the last couple of years, so she must have had a fall which caused her death. When asked about his whereabouts that evening, Ketan claimed to have been inside the house and waiting for Priya to get dressed because they were attending a party together. He said that when the host called to ask about their delay, the maid was sent upstairs to check on Priya. The maid found Priya's body, and Ketan immediately called a doctor. When the police questioned Mala Chaudhary, she told the police that she had gone to buy milk that night, and upon returning, she found Priya lying in the bathroom. Mala added that she immediately called Ketan, who was out running an errand. Once he arrived, the two of them lifted the former actress and put her on the bed, and then they called a doctor, who proceeded to declare that Priya Rajvansh had passed away. The police questioned Mala about the marks on Priya's neck. Mala explained that while she and Ketan carried Priya from the bathroom to the bedroom, Priya's gold chain must have rubbed against Priya's neck, causing the marks. Investigating officers noticed a discrepancy in the statements given by Ketan Anand and Mala Chaudhary. The police continued with their investigation, but decided against making any arrests until an autopsy was performed. However, the police were caught by surprise when the Anand family issued a statement to the press stating that former actress Priya Rajvansh had passed away from a heart attack. The autopsy report had not come back, and the first doctor to have examined Priya's body had listed the cause of death as undetermined. So why was the Anand family releasing false information to the public? The police's suspicions were confirmed when a preliminary autopsy report listed the cause of death as violent asphyxiation due to ligature strangulation. The police immediately registered a case of murder, bringing about media interest, and the investigation turned high profile. During the police investigation, some neighbors stated that they had seen a man leaving the house around the time of the murder. However, the man's description did not match that of either Vivek or Ketan Anand. To learn the identity of this mystery man, the police brought in Mala Chaudhary for questioning. During the interrogation, Mala mentioned the frequent fights that Ketan and Vivek used to have with Priya. Pressed further, Mala told the police that Priya insisted that the bungalow be sold to get her share of the money. Mala also informed the police that Priya was 1/3 owner of the house, with the remaining 2/3 belonging to the brothers. As the police pressed on with their interrogation, Mala Chaudhary eventually revealed everything. After her confession, the police arrested Mala Chaudhary, Ketan Anand, Vivek Anand, and Ashok Chinnaswamy for the murder of Priya Rajvansh. At the trial, friends of Priya Rajvansh testified how Priya lived in constant fear of Ketan and Vivek. Priya's fear for her own safety was the primary reason she wanted to leave India and move to London. The letters written by Priya to Chetan's family asking for help were also presented in court as evidence. The note supported the prosecution's claim that Ketan and Vivek were aggressive and verbally abusive towards Priya. On July 31st, 2002, the lower court found all 4 accused guilty and sentenced them to life in prison. It was a high-profile case, and it appeared that justice was served. In 2011, the Mumbai High Court accepted the appeals of Vivek Anand, Ketan Anand, Ashok Chinnaswamy, and Mala Chaudhary. The lower court's verdict was put on hold while the High Court reviewed the case and made a ruling. Since the lower court's sentencing could not be carried out because it was under review, Vivek, Ketan, Ashok, and Mala were released on bail. As of September 2021, the High Court has still not reviewed the case. Thus, Vivek Anand, Ketan Anand, Ashok Chinnaswamy, and Mala Chaudhary remain free and are living everyday lives. The ownership of Chetan Anand's bungalow, the motive for Priya's murder, remains in legal limbo. Only after the High Court makes a ruling can the house be sold. A film based on the life and death of Priya Rajvansh is set to be in production in Bollywood. The actress rumored to be portraying Priya on the big screen is Jacqueline Fernandez. What do you guys think? Was justice served? Do you think the 4 accused individuals will ever return to jail? Please let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to press the like button. Until next time.